right, so call the meeting to order at 7:03. And do we have a quorum? 1, 2, 3,
I believe we
4.
do.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess we do not need to elevate alternates if we have a quorum. So the appointment of acting chair of Park and Rec. We need somebody to be the acting chair until.
Hang on. I think you need to elevate. I think you need to elevate Julia. Julia, you're still an alternate?
She is an alternate, but you only elevate alternates if you don't have a quorum.
Okay.
So we have our quorum.
But John, down the line, will have to fill a seat, and perhaps at that time.
We will have to, if, once we accept the resignation, we'll have an empty seat. And at that point, we can fill that with whomever, but most likely it will be one of the alternates. And then go on. But so basically what we have to do right now is appoint somebody to be the acting chair. And that appointment will last until we vote on a permanent replacement.
I nominate Abigail.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Anybody else want to do it? No.
I was also gonna nominate Michael. And I would love to have a co-chairmanship down the line.
Well, this
but I
is
don't want to overcomplicate things. Yeah, this is just for the acting chair.
Just for the acting chair until such time as we get to item 5. Is that right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so basically acting chair will be at this point just so we can start the meeting. Yeah, exactly.
All right, I accept the nomination.
Okay, so all in favor of Abigail being the acting chair? Signify by saying aye or waving. Okay, Abigail.
Okay.
You have the agenda with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, take over.
So our next item on the agenda is, and I have a terrible cold, acceptance of the resignation of Lynn Harrington from her role as chairman of the Park and Recreation Commission and a member of said commission. And I will read her letter of resignation.
Yeah, Abigail, I'll read it. I'll read it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is a letter of resignation from Lynn Harrington, dated Saturday, the 16th of April. Dear Jared and the Park and Rec Commissioners, over the last 16 years, I've been a commissioner, and 3 of those years as the chairman of the Kent Park and Rec Commission. It's been a pleasure to serve my community in this capacity and allowed me to bring programming to Kent that my family and friends have enjoyed immensely. In the past year, it has become a chore to participate and much more than a volunteer job. Stepped in many times to fill in when we've been between directors, spent countless hours, sometimes 30 to 40 hours per week, dealing with issues to avoid nickel and diming you all. I've been ridiculed for following Robert's rules and required practices for municipal government, and criticized for requiring our commission to complete our business in public as the law requires, including what is written in our bylaws and constitution. I've tried to do this in a way that you would all learn. I had tried to do this in a way that you would all learn how we must properly conduct business. I've shared the Tom Hennick's Freedom of Information webinar link with you for you to hear it from the expert. Still, you've thrown criticism at me in public and behind my back. During the last year, I've been trying very hard to keep this department afloat while we didn't have a director, including when we had an interim director who didn't know how to do the job. This is my letter of resignation as both chairman and commissioner. It is effective Monday, April 18th, 2022. I've been considering leaving for a while, but told myself I'd stay until we hired a new director. Then I'd stay until that director was trained and the budget process was done. But at this time, I just can't stay any longer. Jared, I implore you to consider not leaving Kent Park and Rec. We searched long and hard to find someone like you. You have done an amazing job, and Kent, Connecticut needs your creativity. I believe the rest of the commission will let you have the free rein you desire. My directives to you have always been in a manner for you to succeed in this mission. The job description that you were hired with was carefully crafted to fit within the expectations of past practices, our budget, both current and future, and our bylaws and constitution. Our hiring committee went over that job description, the interview process, and I'm unsure where misconceptions came from. I wish the commission much success with future programming in Kent. I trust that you all will brush up on Robert's rules and FOI to avoid liability going forward. Sincerely, Lynn Harrington.
Thank you, Jared. So the next item on the agenda, unless anybody wants to have
We need a motion to accept
oh, sorry. Is there a motion on the floor to accept Lynn Harrington's? Okay. A second?
I'll second that.
Discussion,
okay, so
please.
Well, I have a motion on the floor from John, a second from Rufus. Any discussion?
Yeah, discussion. I would just like to say, obviously, I know that this a lot of stuff came up recently, but I think it's important that it's recognized what Lynn contributed to the Park and Recreation Commission, as well as the department and the community over what has been a very long period of time. And, not everything is perfect, but that doesn't obviously take away from the fact that she volunteered her time, her energy, and it was certainly a passion of hers for many years. And I think that a thank you is most certainly in order. And, I think I speak on behalf of, hopefully the commission and all residents, and that all volunteerism is greatly appreciated, especially in a day and age where volunteerism is very hard to, it's harder and harder to get people who volunteer and who truly care. And I wanted to make sure that I said that because it's clear that Lynn did care, and it's clear that she put a lot of time and energy into things. And I wanted her to know from me and from, whoever I'm speaking on behalf of that, thank you and much appreciation.
I absolutely second that. And throughout the process, when we had no director, commended Lynn for her valiant effort, particularly with keeping ASP running. It was always a question, and she did everything she possibly could for us not to lose that program. And she's been a great guide in teaching us and also setting the stage for what it means to be a dedicated volunteer.
I think we should, and I'd be willing to draft a letter thanking Lynn for everything that she's done for the community and the commission.
16 years is a long time. I really commend that.
So, if you want, I can draft a letter, and then when's our next meeting?
So our next meeting, barring any special meetings in between, is the first Monday in May.
So that's a ways.
It's the second, I believe, May 2nd.
That's 2 weeks away. Rufus,
maybe we could draft a letter and share it.
We could draft
via email and then
absolutely
get it out before our next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perhaps we could take a similar approach to how we wrote the content for the annual report.
Right.
Where I all contributed.
Sounds like a plan.
Jared, do you think you could start the document and share it with us?
I sure can. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah,
okay.
We didn't. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is somebody else
we
there?
didn't finish the process. Yeah, I just wanted to. Sorry. Yes,
okay,
I can start the letter. And,
Is there anything else to be discussed in regard to this item? Okay, so
need to
are
vote.
we ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, so the motion moves forward to accept the resignation of Lynn Harrington.
I would just like to add quickly, we don't have on the agenda public comment, but we do have people here with us. I know in my previous position, it was kind of an informal, we could add a public comment if we felt that someone perhaps wanted to comment on an item, and I wanted to see if either of our guests here wanted to publicly comment. Was anyone opposed to me just asking them that?
No, we invite public comment.
You can't add to a special agenda.
Did you want to say anything about Lynn?
No.
All right.
Just
I just, if you had wanted to say something.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're good.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is appointment of chairman of the Park and Recreation Commission. And so are there any I'm sorry, Jared.
I just wanted to let you know what was discussed with Darlene, so because she filled me in on all of this.
Great.
So basically, it is not necessary that a chairman necessarily be elected tonight. We don't have to. If not, the acting person would conduct the next meeting until someone is appointed. But basically, the way it would work is whoever. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. So not only do we have a void with the chairman, we also have a void on the commission on a whole.
Yes.
So I don't actually know where I'm going with this. You know what?
So,
you do your thing,
Jared,
Abigail.
I think that what there on the agenda is not to fill the commission position. So I think right now we can make a decision here as a commission if we want to move ahead with appointing a chairman. And so I think that's the first decision we have to make. And then if we want to do that, we'll appoint a chairman. And then at our next meeting, we can have on the agenda appointing a new commissioner. We can at least discuss it then, because then it will be on the agenda. Is that okay with you, Jared? Does that sound right? No.
Yeah.
Based on what you talked to Darlene about?
Yes, that is exactly it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So I'd like to just, for the first point of discussion, put it to the commission. Would you like to all appoint a chair for the commission at this time?
I would rather wait until we fill the vacancy.
Okay. So I will put a motion on the table. Do we want to put a motion on the table to postpone the appointment of the chairman until the commission vacancy is filled?
I'd kind of like to hear why Rufus would like to wait. I was going to say I was ready to move forward if there was anyone here who was interested or who thought about appointing someone, but I'd love to hear Rufus's point of view.
Well, I think going back to our last discussion at the beginning of the year of chairman, we had two people who were willing to run at that point. One is now no longer on the commission, and the other is not on the commission. I just think that maybe that other person may want to, have their name put up as chair, unless somebody is gang bang going for it, right now, and they want it. That was my thinking.
So for context, when we had the discussion in January, the nomination was for Julia Neff, who's currently an alternate, and so therefore was not able, she didn't qualify, and also Lynn. So the thought is, Julia, you're here with us to once again give you the opportunity. If I think it's a two-part thing. One, we have to go through the elevating you to a full-time commissioner, and then also seeing if you would be interested. And I think we also want to open the table up to see if there's any other nominees.
If someone else were interested that is on the commission right now, then I certainly wouldn't stand in their way. Like, I think that anyone interested in doing it, I think would do a great job. Sorry, I'm like still recovering from the same cold that Abigail has, probably. So my voice is a little messed up, but so I wouldn't stand in anybody's way. And then if I do end up being elevated and we're still looking for a chairperson, then I'm happy to do anything that would help the success of the commission, in particular, anything that would help us entice Jared to stay.
So I think that answers that, right? Let's wait.
Let's wait.
Okay, so we're going to wait on the appointment of the chair. So the next agenda item is letter from Director of Park and Recreation, Jared Kusinowski, to the Park and Recreation Commission, as well as all related correspondence between commissioners. So Jared, would you like to go ahead?
And I know Abigail can't pronounce my last name. Just kidding, Abigail. Had to add some levity to the situation.
I've practiced.
Yes, all right. So, so many emails here. Okay. All right, so there's a series of emails and exchanges that I'll be reading, so bear with me, and I will try to do so and as quickly as possible. So on Friday, April 15th, I wrote an email to the Park and Rec Commission. This email came after several conversations with various commissioners, and I no longer felt that I was comfortable with the amount of conversation I was having with a variety of commissioners, but it wasn't transparent to all commissioners. So I felt it necessary to loop everyone in. So I'll read you the email. Hi all, I figured for the sake of transparency, I will share with you some ongoing discussions I've had over the past week. Keep it as brief as possible. Before coming to Kent, I was recruited for a job elsewhere in New York. I declined to interview because after chatting with Julia about why you guys wanted to bring me in here in Kent, I felt excited about the opportunity to do some great things in a town that really needed some P&R, Park and Rec TLC. Late though, my enthusiasm has waned, and after some thought, I interviewed for that job in the early part of this week, that was last week, and was subsequently offered the position. Honestly, I like it here in Kent, and I feel we have already worked together to do a lot of great things. However, as most of you know, I've continued to implore the commission to determine what its role is and where my autonomy ends. This past week, I made it known to several of you that I felt those lines were blurred to an extent that was incredibly discouraging, that after a rather frustrating month, I no longer feel I can act as director. I no longer feel as I can act as I no longer feel I can act as I feel a director should be able to. This week, I discussed this extensively with Lynn, Abigail, Jean, and a few others to a lesser extent. And as I said to them, please note that I totally respect your right as a commission to determine the level of oversight, interaction, and decision-making you'd like to have. However, I think that level should beget the position for which you then hire. And Director of Park and Recreation doesn't seem to actually be what's wanted. Probably more of a coordinator or rec supervisor, which I will say with the utmost respect is not particularly what I'm interested in. Between the overly frequent and excessively long meetings and the new recommendations coming, that now the commission will have more involvement in breaking down the budget program by program to give me spending limits, and that all non-program purchases need to be discussed and approved by the commission. It's just really not what I expected this job as a department head to be. Do not know if I'm going to accept the New York position or not. I'm going to take the weekend to really think on it, but I'm sending this email for the sake of transparency so that hopefully the commission can take some time to think on my concerns. This isn't any one person or anything like that. To me, it's just the fundamental question of what a commission does. As far as I have ascertained, and not to put words in their mouth, it was the same question that Miranda and Leslie had too. Sorry for the alarm of this email, but I thank you in advance. I hope you understand my position. Have a blessed Easter, yada, yada. To which Blythe responded the same day, hello all, I am beyond chagrined to read this email and hope we can prioritize an executive session at our meeting on Monday to address the concerns. To which Kate responded, I agree, we need to address this as soon as possible in a forum where we can have an open, honest discussion. This news directly and negatively and possibly immediately affects the people of the town of Kent. To which I responded, not to complicate matters further, but forgetting that today was a town holiday, that being Good Friday, I was unable to get an agenda out in time for Monday and informed that we cannot hold our meeting, which we rescheduled for today. To which Abigail responded, please add executive session to the agenda. A side note, I did not, after speaking with Darlene, she did not feel it was necessary and that this conversation should happen publicly. To which Julia then responded, this is still all on Friday the 15th. Jared and all, thank you so much for your email and honesty. As a member of the hiring committee, I'm embarrassed that the job has not been as it was represented to you. It was my understanding that we specifically hired you because of your experience and skill set as a director. It's also my intent to hire someone who would have autonomy to do their job and run the department, with the commission supporting them rather than micromanaging them. With that said, my role on the commission was significantly changed soon after you were hired. I've remained on the commission in the newly clarified role of an alternate because I believe in you as the director and want to support you in town. I think you have done a tremendous job so far, and I'm so sorry if the commission has impeded you. After sitting on 2 hiring committees, hiring 2 tremendous employees, Miranda and Jared, seeing them run into the same walls, I'm extremely frustrated. Unless we can change the course of the commission and help Jared do the job he came to do, I will be resigning as an alternate. I am going to be out of town on Tuesday, but will do my best to make the meeting. If I'm not able to attend, please read this during the executive session. Thank you, Julia. To which Lynn responded on Saturday, April 16th. I am also very disappointed with Jared's email. We have let him take the reins and he has done a magnificent job. Not sure where the misunderstanding is coming from. Julia, I'm not sure what you mean. The details of how the Park and Rec operates in this town were clearly explained over and over to the director prior to hiring to avoid this exact situation. This is written out in the bylaws and the recently updated and approved job description. We can't just change the way we operate because a few commissioners don't understand it or agree with it. If you want to change the bylaws and constitution, that committee would actually need to meet. There is no micromanaging. Jared has confirmed that. The interim director who made that accusation did not know the job at all. Many times spent the few hours she had doing things that didn't pertain to Park and Rec, refused to run some of our programs, and did not like to take direction. Jared has experience in Park and Rec. The interim director did not, and it showed. She was getting information from the first selectman, who also does not know anything about how Kent Park and Rec is run. It was a very frustrating few months. The same may be happening now as far as where confusing information may be coming from. And as I have said many times, we are not allowed to converse through email. This will become a public document and should be attached to the next meeting minutes. Don't forget that the commission is responsible to the town for the director and the budget. Please see the attached letter, which has been previously read as Lynn's letter of recommendation, signed Lynn Harrington. There was also a subsequent email that I later then sent out. It was nothing of consequence, but will be attached to the minutes, and basically just saying that I had scheduled a special meeting and asking that that thread be closed so we didn't keep adding to the document. I would also like to say, because I thought about this a lot as well, and I always respect everyone's opinion, but I would just like to say that personally, being the person who just read this, I do not share that assessment of the interim director. And I just wanted to make that known, as I think she did a great job, and I've gotten to work closely with her for several months now, and have only been incredibly impressed by what she did and her skill set and knowledge. So I just felt that that should be thrown in there because it was uncomfortable to read that. And the same also about the first select woman, who I've had a great experience working with, and who's been a very good resource.
Thank you, Jared. I would also second both of those sentiments, that that's an opinion that does not reflect my experience with either of those individuals.
I agree as well.
Sorry, you go, Julia.
Oh, no, I was just saying that I agree with Jared and Abigail as well.
So the reason this was on here, obviously, because it need to be public information anyway, but also because the discussion still needed to take place, that, with respect to my email. And, this is a public setting, but it's fine. It needs to be. My concern basically is that when I came in, and I've said this several times on several Zooms, I came from a place where I had an incredible amount of autonomy. And I recently, as I've said to many of you, have become kind of startled by a lot of things that were being questioned about what I was doing. And, at first I wrote it off, but I believe most of you know at this point, the Easter egg hunt, Lynn and I didn't see eye to eye on a number of things, and she questioned a number of purchases I made for the event, at which point we had a discussion, and I told her that, I was, I was not aware that I had to clear what I could perceive to be small purchases with the commission, and that if things were going to continue that way, it really wasn't a position I was interested in continuing on in, because it's, from reading the bylaws, although I'm not well versed, I didn't believe that that was necessary. Lynn and I had, it wasn't the greatest conversation in the world, but I was just as much a part of it as she was. And basically it didn't end super well, which is what led to, me, reaching back out to the professional I did in New York about his open position. Lynn and I then had a subsequent conversation the next day, which also I was not thrilled with, at which point she told me that she was going to recommend to the commission that you guys establish budget limits for each and every program and event, so that I would know exactly what you did and didn't want me to spend, which once again, and I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I came from a municipality where I was managing the budget, an operating budget of $600,000 with over $1 million in capital, ongoing capital projects. So I felt that this was a little overkill. And I just felt like I was beginning to get, stifled. And you know what? I don't want to go into the details of all our conversations because unless someone forces me to, I just feel like those are conversations that Lynn and I had. But I think you guys get the gist of where I'm coming from. And I think that as a commission, and forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, but there's so many macro items we need to be focused on in terms of Emery Park and the pool and the master plan and what we're going to do at Kent Commons, that I would like to believe you guys have trust and faith in me to handle the day to day. And, if that's not the case, or if you guys want someone who acts more as a coordinator as opposed to a director, let me know. And there's no, that's totally within your rights as a commission. But I know I'm kind of rambling, but that's kind of what led to all of this. And I'll put the rest in your court.
Jared,
Thanks,
are you
for the
still
background?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Kate.
Are you still considering the other position?
I am, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I looked at the bylaws, as I'm sure probably a lot of you did. And there's a section in there that says the director of Park and Recreation shall have the authority to contract and authorize payment of bills for supplies, equipment, and materials necessary to operate programs approved by the commission. So it appears to me that you have the authority. Did anyone take a look at that?
Yes.
Yes, I don't know where that discrepancy came from, because it is pretty clearly stated there.
I think fundamentally, moving forward, if there are conversations or directives being given to Jared without the commission involved, that's not appropriate. And so we as a commission need to be informed of any directives that any individual is concerned about or wants to give to Jared. And we should be doing that as a group. And the notion that the chair is the boss of Jared also seems to not be appropriate. We are a group of volunteers. He is a salaried position. He is the director of Park and Rec. So I think that we as a group need to really understand how we engage with Jared. I've always seen us as advisors and collaborators. I would think that if the budget is blown, Jared would lose his job, because that means that he's not doing his job. And I think that we owe him performance reviews, perhaps on a quarterly or a semi-annual basis, to review the standing of the budget and see how his performance is, because I think that his not blowing the budget has a lot to do with his performance. But I think ultimately, how Jared is managed, I think, is really the root of the issue. And we need to come to a consensus. And what the role is of the select people of this town and the culture of town hall, the office in which he sits within a building with colleagues, yet has nothing to do with that group of people. It just seems like an extremely bizarre situation. It puts a lot of onus on a group of volunteers who aren't even voted by the town to manage a town employee.
I would just say, for my own part, I would just like to point out that I think the bylaws subcommittee was created specifically to address what was a broken system in terms of, it felt like a year, I don't know if it was a year, of endless meetings where we just didn't seem to be able to make a decision on anything without 45 minutes worth of discussion. And I firmly believe that all of us breathed a sigh of relief when the window opened and in flew Jared. When you were hired, it was certainly, to me, I'll speak for myself. I felt re-energized about the commission. I felt like we were actually going to kind of be able to pull it together, and with some, we got the best of all possible worlds when we hired you. Someone who knew the job, someone who could embrace autonomy at a higher level, and someone who could help lead us the way I felt a leader should, with our support and with our confidence. And the members of the bylaw commission, I think we were stymied in the beginning trying to address somehow the what we saw as the primary breakdown of the system, which was the continual need for, as Abigail said, the bunch of volunteers to try to direct a very qualified person in his role as director of Park and Recreation. And the subcommittee continues to want to meet and to propose changes that would, I think, bring about a little bit more equilibrium and the autonomy that Jared is seeking. Maybe we wouldn't be in that position if we had some kind of trainee who did not have experience, but we have, to my mind, we would not find someone better than Jared for this position. That's why I'm really beside myself to think that after such a short time and with so much promise, we would lose you. I personally was hopeful that we would be able to fix the system now that we have somebody who knows what's going on, and that we can take kind of a more rightful place as support for you in your role. So I know I'm blabbing on a little bit too, but I wanted to say that.
Hear, hear. I've really well said, Blythe. And I came into this meeting wanting to be clear that I think it should be the priority of this group right now to figure out what, I think it's priority for the town of Kent that Jared, you stay on as the director of the Parks and Rec organization. And I think that should be our priority. I think it's for the good of our town. And I would love to know, Jared, what, in your words, how we can move forward. What can we do to ensure that you stay on for our town?
Well, I'd just like to say, Rufus and I were talking before we started, and I reflected a lot this past weekend, and I took this job. Some people take jobs for different things, health insurance or proximity to their home or pay or whatever. I took this job for the job because, and Julia will tell you, we had a lot of great conversations. It was like New Year's Eve, actually, when I accepted the job. And I remember we were speaking, and I really just got such good vibes. I thought, like, this is the place that I want to be. This is the job I want to do. Like, I hadn't felt that excited about work in a really long time, and I love what I do. So, I do want you guys to know I am passionate, and I also don't want you to think like, I'm like, oh, I want autonomy just because I'm Jared and I deserve to do whatever that I want. That's not the case. And I think, I know that Abigail and John particularly can speak to how much, I collaborate. John and I talk, several times a week about the parks. Abigail and I worked together for the whole basketball program. So I'm not trying to usurp the commission, for lack of a better term. So I did want you guys to know that. And I think, honestly, it sounds like we are all on the same page, but I wanted to actually discuss it because, in the past few weeks, I was being questioned about my time. I was being questioned about the details of the programs for which, how I chose to run things. And like I said, I don't want to go into the details, but I just felt like everything was becoming negative in a very short period of time. And I don't know, if you guys are around me enough, you'll know I kind of try to be like an eternally positive person. And it just felt like everything was being questioned. And I'll tell you guys, I haven't worked a week less than 50 hours a week. I'm always thinking about this job. I'm not complaining. I love it. But, you know, and Ed Matson's right here. He'll tell you, I've met him down at the park. John knows I'm at the parks hours, you know, every other day. It feels like I'm always doing stuff for this job, but it's a one person department. It's atypical in how we, you know, are able to conduct business. And I know I'm starting to ramble here, but I think it's just, I felt I came in with people who had a lot of faith in me, and I felt like it was quickly eroding, and I didn't really know what I did to warrant it eroding in such a fashion. And, you know, basically I just want to know that that faith has been restored, and that, you know, when we have these discussions, you know, they're going to be healthy discussions. I think also, not to go down another side road, but, you know, Emery Park and the pool, there were some off the record discussions that were being had about the pool. And I wasn't thrilled with that, which is why I wrote my email about Emery Park and how, you know, you guys brought me in to do things the right way. And I know we all want to open the pool and everything else, but I mean, it shouldn't be anything wrong with bringing in the professionals to tell us whether or not that really should happen. And I felt like there was some displeasure with the fact that certain people were brought in to take a look at the pool. And I didn't like that. It made me feel uncomfortable, you know, because as I wrote in my email, none of us can make the determination as to whether or not that pool is safe. And I just felt like—
Sorry to interrupt you, Jared. That's really helpful, because I've been wanting to give it. So you just gave an example. That's sort of an example of something that you went forward with, and then you were questioned on that, correct?
Yeah, I was, exactly. Yeah. And I didn't.
That's helpful.
And listen, I understand that the town, you guys have done things a certain way for a very long time. I come in, I want to do it differently. And I get it that it can be alarming, but I like I said, I thought you brought in a professional to do things professionally. And, you know, I don't know, I'm trying to mince my words, probably a bit too much. But I think you guys get what I'm saying. And I just, you know, basically I want to know, like, listen, we're not all going to agree. You know, Abigail and I flat out disagreed one day on what we should be charging for baseball, but that doesn't mean we can't have a good, healthy conversation. And that also, though, that you guys will respect and trust my knowledge, my recommendations, whatever. I'm rambling. I'm really, honestly, I barely even slept last night. So I'm like, this whole thing has got me all out of sorts, but I just want to make sure that, you know, we're all kind of on the same page, and that, you know, I'm running an event and I don't need someone checking in to say, oh, you bought folding tables, you bought this, you bought that. What I need is, hey, that was a great event. And like Abigail said, if we go over budget, you guys have every right to chew me out into oblivion, but that's not going to happen. And I just want there to be that level of trust, you know. And then, you know, if I come in, I say, you know, hey, we need to get stone dust for the park or whatever. Okay, hey, he's the guy who's out there at the parks. You know, we trust that decision, it makes sense, that he's crunched the numbers, that it's going to work. You know, obviously, you want to make sure I did my procurement policy and everything else, but that, you know, you guys, I'm the day-to-day here. I'm the day-to-day at the parks. I'm the day-to-day with the rec, and that you guys trust that, you know. Yes, and if you guys want to be, just let me, sorry, Abigail, I actually have a clear thought.
Okay.
If you guys want to
you don't have to interview for this job because you're hired. We've hired you. Well, and you don't have to feel like you need to, we know, and I'm not trying to cut you off. I want you to I want you to feel like you can express yourself, but now, you know, you have faith from all of us. And we know that this is your career that you dedicated yourself to. And we are so fortunate to have an actual professional who has made his career in Parks and Rec. And we should be writing and create our systems and our structures and our operations should be something that's curated to enabling a career professional to do their job, not to be something that a bunch of volunteers who are not career professionals in this space to manage how you do your job. We should be, you know, providing checks and balances along the way, advocating for the community, giving you a pulse check if we think you're going into left field and doing something that doesn't align with the community, and making sure you're keeping, you're staying on budget. But like, you know, Lynn in particular worked really hard to get an amazing person into this role. And so we really do need to structure it around somebody of your capacity and your caliber, because that's what we want to attract in the future. If we lose you, we want another you.
Well, right. Well, I feel like what we need to do for you, Jared, is you don't need to have another job interview. I feel like we need to explain to you how important you are to this town. This is a great, happy town that we all love dearly. And we would like a lot of nice, happy, young families to live here, move here, and thrive here. And I think that's our role as Park and Rec, that's our most important role. And you're key to that. And I hope that you will go back to that feeling that you had on New Year's Eve and see this as an extraordinary opportunity. And there's so much that we can do. And yeah, I think you combine the expertise, and no offense, you guys, but like, you have more expertise, I think, than all of us combined. And I mean, when you came with that information about the pool, I was so grateful for it, because that's the information, obviously, that we really need to make an informed decision about what to do about Emery Park. And you went out and you got that information, and I was so grateful to you for doing that. And so I just want to, yeah, I would like you to stay.
And if no one else has told you from the town, Jared, I have not seen people this jazzed about Park and Rec in probably the time that I've spent on the commission. I think after a long lull, people are seeing that there are new things happening. I've never had people come to me before, just people in the town or my colleagues with little kids, and say, I don't know what you did to get that guy, but he's terrific. Or, wow, look at all this great stuff that Park and Rec is doing. You guys must be so psyched. And, that's something for you to, as you said, it's nice to get a pat on the back. I don't know if people come and thank you after an Easter egg hunt, but they should. There's a lot of talk.
Good feedback. Yeah.
There's a lot of talk, which to me is new, and it's exciting. And certainly, I think we're all trying to say that I believe, you really do have our enthusiastic and complete support, and we hope you'll stay.
Well, I appreciate that. And that's honestly, that's what I, for lack of a better term, what I kind of wanted to hear, knowing that, we're going to be able to move forward and there's going to be that support. And of course, there's going to be healthy dialogue and everything else, but just that, when I go out and I'm going to say, hey, I need right now, I know when tomorrow morning I got to go order, whatever, we got 40, 50 kids in baseball. I'm going to go order 50 shirts, and I'm going to throw a nice logo on there, and everyone's gonna be like, cool. Okay, great. Kids are going to be running around with Kent Park and Rec shirts all over the place, and everyone's going to be thrilled and not double checking, the minutia. We got plenty of big things that I think are coming down the pike in the near term and the long term. And so I think, I think we're all kind of on the same page. I really do.
My take on the egg hunt was, that's an example of a program that is not going to make any money for the commission. You're spending a little bit, but you had over 100 kids getting really excited about something, and to be able to come in and identify part of the creativity coming from Jared, and he's there meeting all the kids, and that is an essential part of a Park and Rec program, because those kids will come back for another program. They're going to sign up for something else, and you can't say that every program is going to be a moneymaker. It won't be, but the money will be paid back by the participation in other programs. And I think eventually, I'm hoping that we'll get a resurgence in volunteer groups, who might come out and help us, or help Ed, clear brush that he's cut or whatever from Emery Park, and haul it away and do stuff like that. So I'm hoping that, the commission is going to look at its role in a new light, and trust that Jared has the experience and the capacity to understand budget, and look at it after half a year and say, well, what could we've done better, whatever. Those kinds of conversations we'll have, but it doesn't have to be with every program or every week. And if people want to get a hold of a one-man show, tell them what his cell phone number is, because he'll get in touch and he'll make time to meet with people, but he doesn't have to sit at town hall waiting, twiddling his thumbs at a set time if he's got issues at the parks or whatever, so this is a kind of position where, you don't want to tie somebody down to a desk.
I agree. I think it would do disservice to our parks and the community if he were at his desk all day. Aside from just being out in the parks, like I've seen Jared stay late after the basketball clinic, way past his prescribed hours of what the job's supposed to be, just to shoot around with like the kids that are still eager to play and want to hang out and don't want to go home yet. Like he's gone above and beyond and really like gotten great relationships with people of all ages in the community so far, I think.
If I can just real quickly add in, and that was one other thing, and this was a real sticking point when Lynn and I were discussing it. The hours thing came up, and I explained to her, I said, one of the things I was talking, like I said, I worked the whole weekend for the Easter egg hunt. So yeah, I did take time off the next week. I worked a full day Sunday. So I chose to come in at 12 the next day, or actually the next 2 days. And that caused a little bit of friction. And, and I said, and I was at all the open skates and I was at all the basketball clinics. And, and as I mentioned, Abigail, the basketball clinics in particular, I was told, well, that's not in my job description to be there coaching in a basketball clinic. And therefore, if I do that, it's volunteer work. And I said to Lynn respectfully, I don't volunteer at my job. I will gladly go over my hours and chart that, but I am not a volunteer for Kent Park and Rec. I'm an employee of Kent Park and Rec. And as director, I'd like to believe that if I so choose to spend 2 hours, 1 day a week at a program, because I feel that the face time and my ability as a Park and Rec professional, as a coach, as an administrator is that my time is most well spent there. I'd like to believe that you guys would trust me to make that decision. And I can tell you, I made a lot more connections at basketball than probably anything else. I think, Abigail, you'd agree. That's where I got to know basically everyone. And I just, those things, when you get questioned about things like that, when you're told, oh, well, don't go to sports unless you want it to be volunteer time, like that's not kosher. That's not okay.
No.
And I'm going to run some aspects of our baseball program, and that's going to be time I'm going to put in. Not put in, you know what I mean? That's going to be time that I'm considering working time. But I also think that it's going to create a great baseball program. It's only going to help me become more visible, help our Park and Rec department become more visible. And I'd like to believe that you guys, trust in that decision.
I'd like to offer, just for the record, I'm granted we're going to be redoing the bylaws, but just to read, the director of Park and Recreation's duties are to supervise and maintain the recreational activities set forth by the Kent Parks and Recreation Commission, and to pursue new activities which enhance the general program as directed by the commission. So the word supervise is right there.
So I'd like to propose a few things to just maybe we all can agree on here. perhaps rather than reviewing the budget every month, we review the budget once every 6 months. And that's a meeting, it comes on the agenda, and we set aside some time for it. I think when it comes up every month, we actually brush over it and don't really scrutinize it the way we need to. And then Jared can give us a packet of information and prepare us for the meeting so we can have a real discussion.
I want to just remind people that we are, in the interest of making sure that we do stay on topic and agenda topic, we may be, I don't know, flying a little far afield, starting to talk about budget and processes. I think it's important for Jared to know that we support him without necessarily diving in right now off agenda into ideas that may be better served us talking about at the next meeting.
I would agree that, we can't really go into specific ideas. I mean, I think that's something that we definitely need to look at. I think each commissioner should jot down some ideas as to how we could improve and streamline the meetings and how we can support the department. And the department is a one-man show right now.
Yeah, I think that Jared deserves to hear action items from us, if not now, then at our next meeting, that we can commit to enable us as a commission to run smoother and I think we've had a great discussion, but I do think there needs to be some actual action items from us for him.
Totally, but but Jared,
we can table it.
Do you have a sense that the commission is on the same page? And
I do. I really do, actually.
Feeling the same way about the idea
Yes.
of how to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, if
in a healthy way.
If it would help to drive that home, I'm certainly willing to have that discussion, but I'm also being mindful of our agenda as public.
For sure.
Yeah, no, of course. No, I most certainly, this was the meeting that I wanted to have. And these are the things that, like I said, I minced my words a little bit, for the sake of the fact that every aspect of every conversation I've had needs to be public, but you guys got the gist. And I can tell from you all that, this is exactly the sentiment that was expressed here tonight was exactly what I was hoping it would be, and exactly what I thought it was from the get-go when I first, as Kate said, New Year's Eve. So yes, this is the conversation that I wanted to have, and it was the outcome that I was really hoping that would be achieved.
Great. Then is there any other
really
discussion?
Good.
What was that?
Since we've been here for an hour, we can wrap it up. Sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
Fellow
It'll be the
commissioners?
shortest meeting we've had since I got here, so I'm all for it.
And a very important one. Thank you, Jared. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for hearing.
Thank you for your honesty.
Jared.
Thanks for, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay, then I will call this meeting. I will adjourn this meeting at 8:02.
Good night.
Thank you all. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.